What happens when a simple piece of jewelry becomes the center of royal drama? When Queen Camilla walked into Buckingham Palace wearing a necklace that didn't belong to her, she had no idea that this single act would set off a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the royal family. The diamonds that caught the light that evening weren't just any diamonds. They were Catherine's most treasured possession, a gift that held secrets, memories, and emotions deeper than anyone could imagine. King Charles noticed it immediately. His sharp eyes, trained by decades of royal protocol and attention to detail, caught the glimmer of the familiar sapphires and diamonds around his wife's neck. But this wasn't just about a borrowed necklace. This was about respect, boundaries, and the delicate balance of power within the most watched family in the world. What started as an innocent mistake would soon reveal hidden tensions, unspoken rivalries, and family dynamics that the public had never seen before. The story of one necklace would expose the human side of royalty, the jealousy, the misunderstandings, and the fierce protection of what matters most. This is not just a story about jewelry. This is a story about family, about the weight of tradition, and about how one moment can change everything. The morning of October 15th started like any other day at Kensington Palace. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was enjoying her usual breakfast of fresh fruit and tea while reviewing her schedule for the upcoming week. The autumn sunlight streamed through the tall windows of her private sitting room, casting a warm glow across the carefully arranged family photographs that adorned the antique side tables. She had no idea that by evening, her world would be turned upside down by something as simple as a piece of jewelry. The necklace in question wasn't just any ordinary piece. It was a stunning creation of sapphires and diamonds, designed specifically for Catherine by one of Britain's most renowned jewelers. The centerpiece was a rare blue sapphire that had once belonged to Princess Diana, William's beloved mother. When William had proposed to Catherine, he had given her his mother's engagement ring. But later, he had commissioned this necklace as a surprise gift for their 5th wedding anniversary. The necklace held deep emotional significance. Each sapphire was carefully chosen to match Diana's ring, and the diamonds were arranged in a pattern that represented the couple's journey together. William had spent months working with the jeweler, ensuring every detail was perfect. When he had presented it to Catherine on their anniversary night, tears had filled her eyes as she understood the profound meaning behind the gift. Catherine treasured the necklace above all her other jewelry. She wore it only on the most special occasions, treating it with the reverence it deserved. It lived in a specially designed case in her private bedroom, away from the other royal jewels that were kept in the palace vault. Meanwhile, at Clarence's house, Queen Camilla was preparing for what she considered to be one of the most important events of her royal calendar. The annual Royal Literary Foundation Gala was an evening she had been planning for months. As the patron of numerous literacy charities, this event was particularly close to her heart. She wanted everything to be perfect, especially her appearance. Camilla had always been conscious of her role as the queen consort. Unlike Catherine, who had been born into a world where such events were natural, Camilla had to work harder to establish her place within the royal family. Every public appearance was an opportunity to prove herself worthy of the title she now held. Her lady-in-waiting, Margaret Thornton, had been with Camilla for over a decade. Margaret was efficient, discreet, and had an impeccable eye for detail. She had laid out several options for the Queen's evening attire, including a selection of jewelry from the royal collection. However, there had been a miscommunication with the royal vault earlier that week, and some of the pieces Camilla had requested were not available. Margaret, wanting to ensure her employer looked absolutely perfect, had taken it upon herself to explore other options. She knew that the royal family often shared jewelry for special occasions. It was not uncommon for pieces to be borrowed between the female members of the family, though usually with proper protocols in place. Earlier that week, Margaret had seen Catherine's necklace during a private family dinner at Windsor Castle. The piece had caught her eye immediately. The way the sapphires caught the light was absolutely mesmerizing, and she had made a mental note of how beautiful it was. When she found herself in need of additional jewelry options for Camilla, she remembered the stunning necklace. What Margaret didn't know was the deep personal significance of the piece. She assumed it was simply another beautiful item from the extensive royal jewelry collection. In her mind, she was solving a problem and ensuring her queen would look magnificent for an important event. Margaret had approached Catherine's personal assistant, asking if the sapphire necklace might be available for Queen Camilla to borrow for the gala. The assistant, new to the role and not fully aware of the necklace's significance, had checked Catherine's calendar and noted that she had no official engagements that evening. Assuming it would be fine, she had agreed to the request. The necklace was carefully retrieved from Catherine's private chambers and delivered to Clarence's house that afternoon. Margaret received it with gratitude, immediately recognizing it as the perfect complement to Camilla's chosen gown for the evening. As Camilla prepared for the gala, she was delighted with how the necklace looked against her midnight blue evening dress. The sapphires seemed to make her eyes sparkle, and the diamonds caught the light beautifully. She felt confident and regal, exactly how a queen should feel before such an important public appearance. Neither Camilla nor Margaret realized the storm that was about to unfold. Back at Kensington Palace, Catherine was enjoying a quiet evening at home with William and their children. They had planned a cozy family dinner, something that was rare given their busy royal schedules. William was helping with homework while Catherine read bedtime stories to their youngest. It wasn't until she went to her bedroom to change for the evening that she noticed something was wrong. The special case that held her anniversary necklace was empty. Catherine's heart skipped a beat. She checked the case again, thinking perhaps she had moved the necklace and forgotten. But she knew her routines well, and the necklace was always kept in that specific spot. She called for her personal assistant, her voice carrying a note of concern that was unusual for the typically composed princess. When her assistant explained what had happened, Catherine felt as though the air had been knocked out of her lungs. The necklace wasn't just jewelry to her. It was William's love made tangible, a connection to Diana, and a symbol of everything their marriage represented. The thought of someone else wearing it, especially without her knowledge or permission, felt like a violation of something sacred. William found his wife sitting on the edge of their bed, holding the empty jewelry case. When she explained what had happened, his reaction was immediate and intense. William was generally a calm and measured person, but when it came to protecting his family and honoring his mother's memory, his emotions ran deep. The necklace represented so much more than jewelry to William. It was his way of keeping his mother's spirit alive in their marriage, of sharing Diana's love with Catherine. The idea that it had been taken without permission, especially for someone else to wear publicly, felt like a betrayal of trust that cut him to his core. Meanwhile, across London at the Royal Literary Foundation Gala, Queen Camilla was having one of the most successful evenings of her royal career. She was in her element, discussing literature with authors and supporters of literacy programs. Several guests had complimented her on her stunning appearance, with many specifically mentioning the beautiful necklace she wore. King Charles, who had arrived separately due to scheduling conflicts, finally joined the event near the end of the evening. As he made his way through the crowd, greeting dignitaries and supporters, his eyes fell upon his wife. She looked radiant, and he felt a surge of pride in how well she had embraced her royal role. But then something caught his attention. The necklace Camilla wore was familiar, but he couldn't immediately place where he had seen it before. As he drew closer, recognition dawned on him like a slow-moving storm cloud. Charles had been present when William gave Catherine the anniversary necklace. He had seen the emotion on both their faces, witnessed the tears of joy in Catherine's eyes, and understood the profound significance of the gift. He knew that this particular piece was not meant to be shared casually. It was deeply personal, almost sacred in its meaning to William and Catherine. The king's mind raced as he tried to understand how the necklace had ended up around Camilla's neck. He knew his wife well enough to know that she would never knowingly wear something so personal to Catherine. There had to be an explanation, but the sight of the necklace in the wrong place filled him with a sense of foreboding. Charles excused himself from the conversation he was having and made his way to Camilla's side. She greeted him with a warm smile, clearly pleased with how the evening was going. But Charles couldn't focus on anything other than the sapphires and diamonds that caught the light around her throat. As the evening wound down and they prepared to leave the gala, Charles knew he had to address the situation. The necklace needed to be returned to Catherine immediately, and he needed to understand how this mistake had occurred. More importantly, he needed to prepare himself for what he suspected would be a very difficult conversation with his son and daughter-in-law. The drive back to Clarence's house was quiet, with Camilla sharing highlights from the evening while Charles listened with growing concern. She had no idea that the beautiful necklace she wore would soon become the center of a royal family crisis that would test relationships and challenge the delicate balance they had all worked so hard to maintain. As their car pulled through the gates of Clarence's house, Charles made a decision that would change everything. He knew that this situation, however innocent in its origins, had the potential to cause serious damage to family relationships. He also knew that William's protective instincts regarding his mother's memory and Catherine's feelings would make this particularly challenging to resolve. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reveal hidden tensions within the royal family and force everyone involved to confront difficult truths about respect, boundaries, and the complex dynamics of their unique family situation. The next morning arrived with the kind of crisp October air that usually brought clarity, but for the royal family, it only seemed to intensify the storm that was brewing. Charles had spent most of the night thinking about how to handle the delicate situation that had unfolded. He knew that every minute the necklace remained in their possession was another minute of pain for Catherine and William. At Clarence's house, Camilla was still glowing from the success of the previous evening's gala. She had woken up energized and was already planning follow-up meetings with some of the literacy organizations she had met. The necklace sat safely in its temporary case on her dressing table, its sapphires catching the morning light streaming through her bedroom windows. Charles approached the subject carefully during breakfast. They sat in their private dining room, a space that had witnessed many important conversations during their marriage. The morning newspapers were spread across the table, featuring beautiful photographs of Camilla from the gala, including several clear images of her wearing the disputed necklace. When Charles gently explained the significance of the jewelry she had worn, Camilla's face went through a series of emotions. First confusion, then understanding, and finally horror as she realized the magnitude of the situation. The cup of tea in her hands began to shake as the full weight of what had happened settled in her mind. Camilla had always been sensitive about her position within the royal family. Despite years of public acceptance and her official role as queen consort, she still carried the weight of history and the knowledge that she had once been viewed as an outsider. The idea that she might have inadvertently caused pain to Catherine, whom she had grown to genuinely care for, was devastating. She immediately wanted to call Catherine and explain, but Charles suggested they handle the situation more carefully. Royal protocol existed for good reasons, and family matters of this sensitivity required delicate handling. They decided that Charles would personally return the necklace and have a conversation with William, while Camilla would write a heartfelt letter of apology to Catherine. Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, Catherine had barely slept. She had seen the newspaper photographs online, images of her precious necklace being worn by someone else at a public event. The photos felt like a violation of something deeply personal. She had tried to be understanding about the mistake, but seeing the necklace displayed so publicly made the situation feel much worse. William was struggling with his own complex emotions. As future king, he understood the importance of family unity and the need to handle conflicts privately. But as a husband and son, he felt a protective rage that was difficult to control. The necklace represented his love for Catherine and his connection to his mother's memory. Seeing it worn by Camilla felt like a betrayal of both relationships. The couple spent the morning discussing how to handle the situation. Catherine, ever the diplomat, wanted to resolve things quietly to avoid any public drama. She understood that Margaret had made an honest mistake and that Camilla had worn the necklace unknowingly. But the hurt was still there, raw and painful. William was less forgiving. He felt that proper protocols should have been followed, that someone should have asked for permission directly from Catherine or himself. The casual way his wife's most treasured possession had been borrowed and worn publicly struck him as disrespectful, even if it wasn't intended that way. Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Charles, requesting a meeting that afternoon. The king's voice was serious but gentle, and William could hear the concern in his father's tone. They agreed to meet privately at Windsor Castle, a neutral location where they could speak freely without the pressure of staff or official duties. As news of the previous evening's events began to circulate among palace staff, the atmosphere at all three royal residences became tense. Royal household members were expert at reading the subtle signs of family discord, and everyone could sense that something significant had occurred. Margaret Thornton was perhaps the most affected of all the staff members involved. When she learned of the necklace's true significance, she was mortified. Her decision to arrange the loan without understanding the piece's personal importance now seemed like a terrible mistake. She had served the royal family faithfully for years, and the thought that she might have caused a family crisis was almost unbearable. Margaret immediately requested a meeting with Camilla to explain her actions and offer her resignation if necessary. The queen consort received her in the same sitting room where she had been photographed wearing the necklace just hours before. The irony was not lost on either woman. During their conversation, Margaret broke down in tears as she explained her reasoning. She had genuinely believed she was helping by securing beautiful jewelry for an important event. She had followed what she thought were proper channels through Catherine's assistant. The personal significance of the necklace had never been explained to her, and she had assumed all royal jewelry was essentially interchangeable for borrowing purposes. Camilla found herself in the unexpected position of comforting her lady-in-waiting. Despite her own distress about the situation, she could see that Margaret's actions had come from a place of dedication and service, not malice or disrespect. The queen consort assured Margaret that while mistakes had been made, her years of faithful service would not be forgotten. The afternoon meeting at Windsor Castle was perhaps one of the most emotionally charged conversations the royal family had experienced in years. Charles had chosen the setting carefully. Windsor Castle represented the continuity and strength of the monarchy, a reminder that they were all servants of something larger than their personal feelings. William and Catherine arrived together, presenting a united front. Charles was already waiting in the private sitting room that had belonged to Queen Elizabeth II, a space filled with memories and the weight of royal history. The choice of room was deliberate, a reminder of the dignity and discretion that should guide royal family matters. Charles began by acknowledging the pain that had been caused and taking responsibility for ensuring the situation was resolved properly. He explained how the mistake had occurred, emphasizing that both Camilla and Margaret had acted without knowledge of the necklace's significance. His words were carefully chosen, seeking to explain without excusing the breach of trust that had occurred. William's response was measured but emotional. He spoke about the meaning of the necklace, not just as a gift to his wife, but as a connection to his mother's memory. His voice carried the weight of old wounds that had never fully healed, the loss of Diana still a powerful force in his life decades later. He explained how seeing the necklace worn publicly by someone else had felt like watching a sacred memory being treated carelessly. Catherine, typically gracious even in difficult circumstances, expressed her understanding that the situation had been a mistake. But she also needed William and Charles to understand how violated she had felt seeing her most precious possession worn by someone else at a public event. The necklace wasn't just jewelry to her. It was a symbol of her marriage, her connection to Diana, and her place within the royal family. Charles listened carefully to both perspectives, understanding the depth of feeling on all sides. As king, he had to balance family harmony with the need to address legitimate grievances. As a father, he could see the pain in his son's eyes and understand the protective instincts that drove William's anger. The conversation continued for nearly 2 hours, with each person sharing their perspective and feelings about what had occurred. It became clear that while the original mistake had been innocent, the aftermath had revealed deeper issues about communication, respect, and boundaries within the family. One of the most difficult aspects of the discussion was addressing the public nature of Camilla's appearance in the necklace. The photographs from the gala had already been published in newspapers and shared on social media. There was no way to undo the public display of Catherine's private treasure. This added a layer of complexity to the situation that went beyond simple family dynamics. William struggled with the knowledge that images of someone else wearing his mother's sapphires and his gift to his wife would exist forever in the public domain. These photos would likely be republished whenever the necklace appeared in public again, a constant reminder of this painful incident. Catherine found herself thinking about the future and how this event might affect her relationship with Camilla. She had worked hard to build a positive relationship with her stepmother-in-law, understanding the importance of family unity for the monarchy's stability. She didn't want this incident to create lasting resentment, but she also needed assurance that her boundaries would be respected in the future. Charles could see the toll the conversation was taking on everyone involved. The stress of the situation was evident in the way William kept running his hands through his hair, the careful control Catherine maintained over her emotions, and his own growing headache as he tried to navigate the competing needs and feelings of his family members. As the afternoon wore on, the discussion began to move from expressions of hurt toward potential solutions. Charles suggested implementing clearer protocols for sharing jewelry between family members, ensuring that personal pieces like Catherine's necklace would be clearly identified and protected from casual borrowing. William proposed that all future requests for jewelry loans go through the principal family member directly, rather than through assistants or staff members. This would prevent misunderstandings about the significance of particular pieces and ensure that proper permission was always obtained. Catherine suggested that they use this incident as an opportunity to create better communication channels within the family about personal belongings and boundaries. She emphasized that while she understood mistakes could happen, the emotional impact of this particular mistake had been significant enough to warrant stronger protections in the future. The meeting ended with a commitment from all parties to work toward healing the rift that had been created. Charles promised to speak with Camilla about the family's concerns and ensure that proper protocols were established. William and Catherine agreed to consider how they might move forward while protecting their emotional needs and family relationships. As they prepared to leave Windsor Castle, the weight of the unresolved tensions was still evident. While progress had been made in understanding each other's perspectives, the healing process would clearly take time. The necklace would be returned that evening, but the emotional wounds caused by its unauthorized borrowing would take much longer to heal. The drive back to Kensington Palace was quiet, with both William and Catherine lost in their own thoughts about what had transpired and what it might mean for their family relationships going forward. The days following the Windsor Castle meeting were marked by a careful dance of reconciliation and healing. The royal family, with decades of experience managing personal crises while maintaining public dignity, began the delicate process of rebuilding trust and establishing new boundaries. Charles returned to Clarence House that evening with a heavy heart and a difficult conversation ahead of him. He found Camilla in her private study, surrounded by correspondence related to the Literacy Gala. She had spent the day writing thank you notes to attendees and following up on commitments made during the event, but her usual enthusiasm was notably absent. When Charles entered the room, Camilla looked up with eyes that showed she had been crying. The weight of the situation had settled on her throughout the day as she fully comprehended the depth of pain she had unknowingly caused. She had drafted and redrafted her letter to Catherine multiple times, struggling to find words that could adequately express her regret without sounding hollow or insufficient. Charles sat beside his wife, and gently took her hands in his. He could see the genuine anguish in her face as she struggled with the knowledge that she had caused pain to Catherine and William. For someone who had worked so hard to find her place within the royal family and build positive relationships with her stepchildren, this incident felt like a devastating setback. Camilla's voice was barely above a whisper as she explained how terrible she felt about the whole situation. She had removed the necklace immediately upon learning of its significance and had it carefully prepared for return to Catherine. The beautiful piece that had made her feel so elegant and confident the night before now seemed to mock her from its case. The conversation between Charles and Camilla revealed the complex layers of emotion surrounding the incident. Camilla spoke about her ongoing insecurity regarding her position in the family, her constant awareness that she was stepping into roles once held by Diana, and her fear that this mistake would undo years of careful relationship building with William and Catherine. Charles listened with patience and understanding, recognizing that his wife's distress was genuine and deep. He explained what had transpired during his meeting with William and Catherine, sharing their perspectives while being careful not to increase Camilla's feelings of guilt. His role as mediator between his wife and his son required delicate balancing of everyone's emotional needs. Together, they decided that Camilla should personally deliver her letter of apology to Catherine, along with the necklace. This gesture would demonstrate the sincerity of her regret and provide an opportunity for face-to-face communication that might begin the healing process more effectively than written correspondence alone. Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, William and Catherine were having their own difficult conversations about how to move forward. Catherine had always prided herself on her ability to navigate royal family relationships with grace and diplomacy, but this situation had tested those skills in unexpected ways. Catherine found herself examining her own reactions to the incident. While her hurt was genuine and justified, she also recognized that harboring resentment would ultimately damage relationships that were important for both personal and institutional reasons. She needed to find a way to protect her boundaries while maintaining the family harmony that was essential to the monarchy's stability. William was struggling with more complex emotions. His anger about the necklace had awakened deeper feelings about protecting his mother's memory and ensuring that Catherine never experienced the kind of pain Diana had endured. The incident had triggered protective instincts that went far beyond the specifics of jewelry borrowing. Their children, sensing the unusual tension in their parents' behavior, had asked gentle questions about why everyone seemed so serious lately. Catherine and William found themselves explaining the concept of forgiveness and working through disagreements with family members, using the situation as a teaching moment while being careful not to involve the children in adult conflicts. The evening when Camilla arrived at Kensington Palace to return the necklace was one of careful choreography designed to minimize further emotional damage while allowing for honest communication. Catherine had prepared herself emotionally for the encounter, determined to listen with an open heart while also being clear about her feelings and expectations. Camilla arrived without the usual entourage of security and staff, accompanied only by Margaret Thornton, who had insisted on coming to personally apologize for her role in the misunderstanding. The informality of the visit was intentional, designed to emphasize the personal rather than official nature of the apology. Catherine received them in the same sitting room where she had discovered the necklace missing days before. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The room, with its family photographs and personal mementos, provided an intimate setting that encouraged honest communication rather than formal protocol. Camilla's apology was heartfelt and comprehensive. She acknowledged the pain her actions had caused, even though they had been unintentional. She expressed understanding of the necklace's significance to Catherine and William, and she took full responsibility for not ensuring that proper permissions had been obtained before wearing such a personal piece. Margaret's apology was equally sincere and emotional. She explained her thought process in arranging the jewelry loan and acknowledged that she should have inquired more thoroughly about the piece's significance. Her offer to resign was gently declined by Catherine, who recognized that the mistake had been made with good intentions despite its painful consequences. Catherine's response was gracious but clear. She accepted the apologies while also explaining the depth of hurt the incident had caused. She spoke about the necklace's meaning, sharing some of the personal history that made it so precious to her and William. Her words helped Camilla and Margaret understand why their well-intentioned actions have been so devastating. The conversation also addressed practical measures to prevent similar incidents in the future. Catherine suggested that all requests for personal jewelry borrowing should go through her directly, rather than through assistants or staff members. Camilla agreed immediately and proposed additional safeguards to ensure clear communication about the personal significance of various pieces. As the evening progressed, the tension in the room gradually diminished. While the hurt could not be erased instantly, the honest communication and genuine remorse expressed by Camilla and Margaret created a foundation for eventual healing. Catherine's grace in accepting their apologies while maintaining her boundaries impressed everyone present. When Camilla carefully placed the necklace case in Catherine's hands, there was a moment of profound emotion that transcended the specifics of their situation. Both women understood the weight of history, tradition, and personal meaning that jewelry could carry in royal life. The exchange represented not just the return of a borrowed item, but a recognition of the trust that had been broken and the work required to rebuild it. William joined the group later in the evening, his presence adding another layer of complexity to the emotional dynamics. His conversation with Camilla was cordial but reserved, clearly indicating that while he appreciated her apology, his forgiveness would take time to develop. The protective instincts that had been triggered by the incident were not easily calmed. The discussion between William and Camilla revealed the generational differences in their approaches to royal protocol and family relationships. William, shaped by his experience of losing his mother and his determination to protect Catherine from similar pain, had a more cautious and protective stance. Camilla, coming into the royal family as an adult with her own established patterns of behavior, sometimes struggled to understand the deep emotional undercurrents that informed William's reactions. Charles's arrival near the end of the evening provided a stabilizing influence on the gathered family members. His presence reminded everyone of their shared commitment to the monarchy and the importance of working through personal conflicts for the greater good. He facilitated some of the more difficult parts of the conversation, helping to bridge understanding between different perspectives. The evening concluded with a commitment from all parties to work toward rebuilding trust and establishing clearer communication patterns. While no one expected the healing process to be quick or easy, the willingness to engage in honest dialogue provided hope that family relationships could eventually be restored. One of the most significant outcomes of the conversation was the recognition that the incident had revealed important truths about boundaries, communication, and respect within the royal family. Everyone agreed that while the specific situation was painful, it could ultimately lead to stronger and more honest relationships if they committed to learning from the experience. Catherine's handling of the situation earned respect from everyone present. Her ability to express her hurt while maintaining dignity and grace demonstrated the qualities that made her so valued as a future queen. Her willingness to work toward forgiveness while maintaining clear boundaries showed both strength and wisdom. As the family members prepared to leave that evening, there was a sense that while significant damage had been done, the foundation for healing had been established. The necklace was safely back in Catherine's possession, but more importantly, the family had begun the process of honest communication that could prevent similar incidents in the future. The incident had also served as a reminder of the unique pressures and complexities of royal family life, where personal belongings carry historical and emotional weight that outsiders might not understand. The public nature of royal appearances meant that mistakes could have far-reaching consequences beyond the immediate family members involved. However, the evening had also demonstrated the strength and resilience of family bonds that could survive even significant breaches of trust when addressed with honesty, humility, and genuine commitment to healing. 3 months after the necklace incident, the royal family was preparing for one of the most significant events of the year, Catherine's birthday celebration. The passage of time had allowed wounds to heal and relationships to rebuild, but the memory of that difficult evening still lingered in the background of family interactions. Catherine had chosen to mark her birthday with an intimate family gathering at Sandringham, the private estate where the royal family could relax away from public scrutiny. The informal setting was perfect for what she hoped would be a celebration that could further strengthen the family bonds that had been tested by the jewelry incident. The healing process had not been immediate or simple. In the weeks following Camilla's apology, there had been moments of awkwardness and careful navigation of family dynamics. William had needed time to work through his protective instincts and his feelings about the violation of trust. Catherine had found herself examining her own boundaries and learning to communicate her needs more clearly within the complex web of royal family relationships. Charles had played a crucial role as mediator and peacemaker throughout the healing process. His experience in managing family conflicts while maintaining institutional stability had proven invaluable. He had facilitated several smaller family gatherings where natural conversation could gradually replace the careful formality that had initially followed the incident. One of the most significant developments had been the growing friendship between Catherine and Margaret Thornton. The lady-in-waiting's genuine remorse and Catherine's gracious forgiveness had evolved into a mutual respect that surprised both women. Margaret had become one of Catherine's most trusted allies in navigating royal protocol, her experience and dedication proving invaluable. The new jewelry protocols that had been established after the incident had actually improved communication throughout the royal household. Clear procedures for borrowing personal items had eliminated the confusion that had led to the original problem. More importantly, the protocols had opened up broader conversations about boundaries, respect, and communication within the family. Camilla had worked particularly hard to rebuild her relationship with Catherine. She had been careful to respect boundaries while finding natural opportunities to demonstrate her genuine affection and support for her daughter-in-law. Her efforts had not gone unnoticed, and Catherine had gradually begun to trust that the incident had been an honest mistake rather than any intentional slight. The birthday celebration at Sandringham was intended to be a milestone in the family's healing journey. Catherine had specifically requested that Camilla play a central role in planning the event, a gesture that demonstrated her commitment to moving forward and rebuilding trust. The collaborative planning process had provided numerous opportunities for positive interaction and shared decision-making. William had also made significant progress in processing his emotions about the incident. Through conversations with his father and private reflection, he had come to understand that his intense reaction had been about much more than a borrowed necklace. The incident had triggered deep-seated fears about protecting those he loved and preserving his mother's memory. Working through these emotions had actually strengthened his relationships with both Catherine and Charles. The morning of Catherine's birthday dawned clear and bright, with a kind of crisp winter sunshine that made Sandringham particularly beautiful. The estate, with its rolling grounds and historic buildings, provided the perfect backdrop for a family celebration that would hopefully mark a new chapter in their relationships. Camilla arrived early, bringing with her a carefully chosen gift that she hoped would demonstrate her understanding of Catherine's interests and her commitment to their rebuilding relationship. She had selected a first-edition book of poetry by one of Catherine's favorite authors, accompanied by a handwritten note expressing her hopes for their continued friendship. The gift exchange was one of the most emotionally significant moments of the day. When Catherine opened Camilla's present, her face lit up with genuine pleasure and surprise. The thoughtfulness of the selection and the personal nature of the accompanying note touched her deeply. It was clear that Camilla had put considerable thought into choosing something that would have personal meaning rather than simply being expensive or impressive. Catherine's gift to the family was equally meaningful. She presented them with a photo album she had created, documenting positive family moments from the past year. Included among the photographs was a beautiful picture of Camilla from the literary gala, though notably not one featuring the disputed necklace. The inclusion of the photo was Catherine's way of acknowledging that the event had been important to Camilla, while also demonstrating that she could separate the positive aspects of that evening from the painful incident. The afternoon was filled with the kind of relaxed family activities that were rare in royal life. They played games with the children, took walks around the estate grounds, and enjoyed informal conversations without the pressure of official duties or public appearances. The natural interaction allowed everyone to rediscover the genuine affection and respect that had always existed beneath the protocol and formality. One of the most powerful moments of the day came when William approached Camilla privately to express his appreciation for her efforts to rebuild the relationship with Catherine. His acknowledgement of her genuine remorse and her commitment to making things right represented a significant step forward in their personal relationship. The conversation allowed both of them to express feelings that had been difficult to articulate in group settings. Charles watched the family interactions throughout the day with deep satisfaction. As both king and father, he had been deeply concerned about the long-term impact of the jewelry incident on family relationships. Seeing his wife and son interacting naturally and witnessing Catherine's gracious leadership in the healing process gave him confidence that the family could weather future challenges with greater wisdom and understanding. The evening celebration included a formal dinner in Sandringham's intimate dining room. The table was set with family china and crystal, creating an atmosphere of warmth and tradition. Catherine chose to wear the sapphire and diamond necklace for the first time since its return, a decision that demonstrated her reclaiming of the piece and her confidence in the family's rebuilt trust. When Camilla noticed Catherine wearing the necklace, there was a moment of eye contact between the two women that spoke volumes about their journey toward understanding and forgiveness. Camilla's gentle smile and Catherine's gracious nod represented a silent acknowledgement of how far they had all come since that difficult evening months before. The dinner conversation flowed naturally, covering topics ranging from the children's school activities to upcoming royal engagements to shared interests in literature and charity work. The ease of the interaction demonstrated that while the incident had been painful, it had ultimately led to deeper understanding and stronger relationships within the family. After dinner, the family gathered in the sitting room for coffee and after-dinner conversation. The children entertained the adults with stories about their recent activities, and the grandparents enjoyed the opportunity to connect with the younger generation in a relaxed setting. These moments of ordinary family joy reminded everyone of what they had been working to preserve and protect. As the evening drew to a close, Catherine stood to address her family. Her words were carefully chosen but heartfelt, expressing gratitude for the love and support she had received throughout her time in the royal family. She acknowledged the challenges they had faced together and the strength they had found in working through difficulties with honesty and commitment to one another. Catherine's speech included a specific acknowledgement of Camilla's efforts to rebuild their relationship and her appreciation for the Queen Consort's genuine care and concern. The recognition was clearly meaningful to Camilla, who had worked so hard to earn her place within the family and to demonstrate her commitment to supporting Catherine's role as future queen. William's contribution to the evening was equally touching. He spoke about the importance of family bonds and the lessons he had learned about forgiveness, communication, and the strength that comes from working through conflicts together. His words carry particular weight given his initial anger about the necklace incident and his journey toward understanding and forgiveness. Charles concluded the formal part of the evening with reflections on the monarchy as both an institution and a family. He spoke about the unique challenges they all faced in balancing personal relationships with public duties, and his pride in how they had handled a difficult situation with dignity and grace. His words reminded everyone of their shared mission and the importance of unity in serving the British people. The birthday celebration ended with the family members exchanging warm embraces and promises to maintain the positive communication patterns they had established. The evening had successfully demonstrated that the jewelry incident, while painful, had ultimately strengthened their relationships by forcing honest conversations about boundaries, respect, and family dynamics. As the family members prepared to return to their respective homes, there was a sense of completion and renewal. The necklace that had once been a source of division had been transformed into a symbol of the family's ability to heal and grow stronger through adversity. Catherine wore it with confidence, knowing that its meaning had been preserved and even enhanced by the journey they had all taken together. The months following the birthday celebration continued to build on the foundation of trust and understanding that had been established. Family relationships grew stronger, communication became more open and honest, and the royal family emerged from the crisis with greater wisdom about managing both personal conflicts and public responsibilities. The incident had taught them all valuable lessons about the importance of clear communication, respect for personal boundaries, and the power of genuine forgiveness in healing damaged relationships. Most importantly, it had demonstrated that even the most carefully structured families must work continuously to maintain the love, trust, and understanding that make them strong. In the end, the story of the borrowed necklace became a testament to the resilience of family bonds and the possibility of growth through adversity. What had begun as a moment of shock and pain had ultimately led to deeper understanding, stronger relationships, and renewed commitment to the values that held them together as both a family and an institution.